Good Sunday evening, South Carolina weather watchers. Hopefully, everyone has had a fantastic Sunday. I'm your host for South Carolina weather, Jesse Peterson, and the loading screen or the beginning screen is a bit different. You can see as instead of starting off with the forecast like we usually do, we're gonna actually start off with the question: Hugo versus Helene, which one was worse? Now, I already see you guys inside the chat. I'm pretty sure everyone in the chat right now is saying that Hugo is worse. But I honestly think that you might be surprised by this because there's a couple of things I'm going to do real quick. And we're going to talk about just the United States in general. We're not going to talk about anything outside of the United States. We're just going to talk about the United States in general. And I have something called a key. So pretty much you have the rainfall key, which is the max amount of rainfall that has fallen. You have the winds, which was the max amount of winds that have fallen. You have the fatalities. And you also have the storm surge. And you have the numbers as well. Pretty much the damages, like the total number of the total amount of damage in like money wise. And honestly, I think that you might be a bit surprised at the result of this. So I'm actually gonna leave this playing actually on the screen. I actually wasn't really thinking about it, but we'll leave this playing on the screen as I talk about this. So, starting off with Hugo. First, the max amount of rain that fell with Hugo was actually, I believe, in Sullivan's Island, South Carolina, where we had max rainfall of around 10 inches. 10 inches of rain fell inside Sullivan's Island, South Carolina. That was the max amount of rain that Hugo had produced inside of the United States. With Helene, completely different story. The max amount of rain that fell from Helene was 30 inches. So first key goes to Helene. It's not even close. Helene completely eclipses Hugo in terms of rain with up to 30 inches. Moving on to wind. This one is actually going to be a tie because Hugo and Helene both brought 140 mile per hour winds to the United States. Now, Hugo did produce 160, but it was not inside of the United States. It was actually in the ocean. So right now it's really a tie. So both of them get a key for that one. So around two. So right now Hugo has one, Helene has two right now. If you go into fatalities, Hugo had 62 fatalities with it in the United States. Let's make sure we get that. In the United States, Hugo had 62 fatalities. Helene has 103 fatalities inside the United States. 38 in North Carolina, 28 in South Carolina, 21 in Georgia, 12 in Florida, 2 in Tennessee, 2 in Virginia, and here's the actual craziest part. 1,000 people are still missing from Helene. There is still 1,000 people from Helene that is still missing, and unfortunately, most of that will actually add to the fatality total. So I do believe that Helene will eclipse Hugo in terms of like fatalities. Moving on to storm surge. Storm surge wise, Hugo had around a good 20 feet of storm surge from Hugo. And guess what? Helene also had 20 feet of storm surge. So both of them get it there because they both have 20 feet of storm surge, 20 feet inside South Carolina from Hugo, 20 feet for Florida for Helene as well. So I believe right now it's 4-2. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it is 4-2 right now. Helene has 2. Let me recount that real quick. So Helene has 1, Hugo has 1, Helene has 2, and then Helene has 3, and then now they both have. So yes, 4-2. Helene has 4, Hugo has 2, and then if you go to the last one, which is which one was the most costliest, you can see. Well, you can't see it, but Hugo made around ten billion dollars in damages in 1989 currency. So obviously that's more now, around like I think like $20 billion now, somewhere around there. Helene has more than $20 billion in damages, and even some saying that Helene could have gotten up to $110 billion in damages for 2024 standard. So Helene again completely eclipses Hugo in terms of money wise. Now there's other things that we could talk about as well for tornadoes as well, but interestingly enough, since Helene made landfall inside of Florida, most of the tornadoes were actually inland. Hugo, on the other hand, came from the eastern side, meaning that the northeastern side was actually off to sea. Now Hugo made a lot of tornadoes, 3,000 to be exact, is what I saw somewhere reported that Hugo made up to 3,000 tornadoes. Now that's out to sea. That was before, probably most of them probably happened before, maybe, yeah, probably before it even got close to South Carolina, because Hugo was here for way longer before it got to the U.S. And I heard somewhere that, or I saw somewhere on a website where it said up to 3,000 tornadoes were from Hugo. But of course, Helene had more inland impacts in terms of tornadoes, with a bunch of tornado warnings going through South Carolina, even for example. And confirmed tornadoes did happen inside South Carolina as well. But I don't really think that that's kind of fair, just because, again, Helene came from a different location than Hugo did, so I pretty much got rid of that. And in terms of how wide it was, I can't really, I haven't seen like a really reliable source for when it comes to how wide the storm was as well. So honestly, I can't really say exactly how wide and how big Hugo and Helene was in general, but they both were absolutely humongous. Both were absolutely humongous. So if you go down to the final score, it's Hugo 2, Helene 5. So in terms of all of that put together, Helene technically on an average or on an overall scale was worse than Hugo was. Now, I have to say, in terms of an individual level, you may have had worse conditions with Hugo than Helene. Yeah, that's definitely possible. As pretty much as I was saying earlier, this is on an overall scale. So this is everybody that got impacted. Most people got impacted worse by Helene than Hugo, and most people, and of course some people like the coastal regions of South Carolina, even up into like Charlotte, maybe got definitely got some more or some worse conditions from Hugo than Helene. So again, this is not an individual level. So you probably had worse conditions with Hugo than Helene, but on an overall scale, like I was just saying, Helene did more in terms of an overall scale. So that's pretty much that. I just wanted to talk about that and see, because I saw that conversation floating around, which one was worse, Hugo versus Helene, and I was not recording that. That is going to be a stream only type of thing that we talk about here, unless I change my mind in the future. But right now, that's a stream only thing. So the people, so if you're watching this or you're hearing this right now, you guys are the only people that are probably going to see this. And we have a lot of chats. So let's go on and read some of them real quick. Ms. Tolliver says, "Good evening. Hugo was devastating on the coast, but hurricane damage on the coast is not unusual. However, the damage in the Appalachian region is just awful, and they were not prepared because of it." Yes, I do. I do agree with that. The damage in the Appalachian region is just awful. I mean, you can see even like in places up there in the Appalachian Mountains, like the entire city, I believe, of Asheville from Helene is shut down right now. You really can't get in, you can't get out, and there are some other towns that got completely wiped out by Helene by floodwaters. I mean, some people even saying that it could take a lifetime to get back into shape and get back to where the town officially was before the storm. So I do believe that in terms of up there in the Appalachian Mountains, due to the flooding, I mean, we had 30 inches of rain in some places. For sure, that's going to cause some very bad conditions, and it already is. I mean, you can already see it on video. My nana says Hugo was the worst. I think again on a personal level, Hugo probably was worse. On the overall level, though, I do believe, in my opinion, I do believe that Helene was worse. Honestly, maybe even on a factual level as well. Just not typical. Please pray for those affected. Absolutely. That says good evening, Joseph. I think Hugo was worse. If he would have made landfall as a Cat 5, it would have been worse. Helene never made it to Cat 5. That is true. But you're right. He did make. He did not make Hugo did not make landfall as a Category 5. It made landfall as a Category 4 instead. So if it did hit that Category 5 scale, it would have shaped it up just a little bit more. It would have made it a 3, I believe no, it would have actually have eclipsed, so around a 3 to 4 deficit instead. Mr. Oliver says, nice day at my house, but my church is still without electricity. That's interesting, honestly, because I know portion of the upstate and the Midlands of South Carolina is still recovering from this, but the low country, honestly, except for if you're in down there like Beaufort, Colleton County, Jasper County, places like that, other than that, I think everyone else is fine, or everyone else inside like the low country and PD region has been recovering pretty well. Let's see. Trail said Hugo, we didn't have lights for 2 weeks, and thank God it was September. It wasn't extremely hot. Like button, everyone, please. Yes, make sure you hit the like button if you have not already. Wow and wild. And then my mom says, hold on, wait for this thing to move, because Cheryl is listening. She's having difficulty sending a message. She says she thinks both storms were bad, and she's thankful that we are all safe. Yes, that is obviously the number one priority with all of that, with all of pretty much what's going on, is that the majority, if not everyone on the inside of that's listening to me right now, is safe, and that's the number one priority. Unfortunately, not for everyone. It's not like that. But that's pretty much caps it on that conversation. I just wanted to go over that. So, again, if you're just tuning in and you did not hear what I said earlier, I think that Helene was worse on an overall level. Hugo maybe was worse on a personal scale. But on an overall scale, Helene was definitely worse in terms of all of what's going on. Even inside like the western portions of North Carolina in the mountains, where we're seeing towns completely wiped out that would take potentially a lifetime to build back to where they were at originally. But that's gonna wrap that up. So we're gonna go on and actually start with the actual forecast for tonight, and we're going to just start over. And I'm actually gonna hit record this time. KG does say I was here for Hugo, and I don't think it did this much inland, as much inland. Well, Charlotte, North Carolina, for example, did get gusts of up to 100 miles an hour. So definitely did some inland impacts. Maybe to where you were, maybe it wasn't too bad, but it definitely did do inland impacts to places like up there in like Charlotte, North Carolina, for example, even up into Virginia as well. But we're gonna start with the actual forecast now. I'll read the rest of the comments after this. Good Sunday evening, South Carolina weather watchers. Hopefully everyone has had a fantastic Sunday. I'm your host for South Carolina Weather, Jesse Peterson, and we're going to talk about the weather for your Sunday evening going to your future. Looking at the radar right now, we do have some showers down here just to the south of Chester, South Carolina, as well over here near McCormick and Edgefield, South Carolina. We do have showers and downpours over there. As we scroll our way outward, you can see over here for the MRMS, you see we do have a lot of stuff going on, especially like up there inside of Pennsylvania, Ohio, West Virginia, where we do have showers and downpours going on. Also over here inside of Kentucky, Indiana, Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and Missouri, all receiving some scattered showers and downpours. As we move on over here in the Four Corners region, we do have some more shower and downpour activity going on, and even up here inside Montana, shower and downpour activities going on through there. As we go and talk about our cloud cover right now seems to be showing low cloud pretty much for the entire state, except for maybe the low country and portions of the PD region of South Carolina, and mostly again just low clouds going on. You can even check for the future as well. As we scroll our way forward, you can start to see cloud cover will continue even as you get into tomorrow morning. You can see for a Monday morning, cloud cover still will be continuing as we get into around like hour 18:20 ish or so. So cloud cover definitely continuing, especially for the upstate as well. Here's our current temperature: 75 inside Columbia, 77 inside Charleston, 77 in Georgetown and Myrtle Beach, 75 inside Sumter and Florence, 71 in Rock Hill and Anderson, 70 in the Greenville, Spartanburg region, 75 inside of Augusta, 77 in Walterboro, 77 in Beaufort and Savannah as well. Here's our low temperatures for tonight. Low temperatures for tonight seems to be around 69 in Columbia, 69 inside of Moncks Corner. Same thing with Walterboro. 68 inside of King Street, 69 inside of Florence, 64 inside of Greenville, Spartanburg, and Greenwood, 65 Rock Hill, Anderson, as well as 72 in Hilton Head Island, 70 in Georgetown, 72 in Myrtle Beach. Here is our forecast precipitation for the next 24 or so hours. You can see around 1/100 of an inch to 1/10 of an inch possible for places like Florence, Sumter, Orangeburg, Barnwell, Aiken, Greenwood, Anderson, Lawrence. All these places that I'm calling out now has a chance for around 1/100 of an inch to 1/10 of an inch of rain, and then maybe even 1/10 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch possible in Columbia and Dillon, as well as Camden. Maybe even an isolated 1/2 inch possible up there, just near like Sharon, Dillon, potentially. Here's the SPC outlook. You can see as you go to tonight, no chance for a thunderstorm tonight. No chance really for I'd honestly say most of the low country of South Carolina, the Midlands of South Carolina, and the upstate of South Carolina. No chance of a thunderstorm tomorrow, but like eastern Berkeley County, eastern Charleston County, and the PD region of South Carolina does have a threat for some thunderstorms. Nothing for Tuesday, though. Here's the excessive rainfall outlook for the next couple of days for tomorrow. Nothing for tomorrow in terms of excessive rainfall. As you go into Tuesday, just a little minor risk that goes from up there in like the South Carolina, North Carolina border, just a little tiny snippet. Nothing for Tuesday, nothing for Wednesday, and nothing for Thursday as well. As you go on and talk about the future, now because we do need to talk about the next 48 or so hours, let's push our way down here. So here is the HRRR. We're going to just go straight over to the 18Z because that's the last one. We're going to go through tonight. Tonight, really just showing some shower and downpour activity through places like Columbia, obviously, Manning, Florence, up there towards Sharon and Dillon. And then they will push out of here by the time we get to around 2 p.m. And then showers and thunderstorms, maybe trying to make a little return into the upstate of South Carolina and even the PD region of South Carolina near Loris, Myrtle Beach, and Dillon as well. And then continuing through, showers, downpours, still continuing as you get into October the 1st. At around 1 to 2 in the morning inside the northern low country of South Carolina and southern Midlands of South Carolina, as well as downpours start to continue back again. Going into like Winsboro, Chester, South Carolina, even just to the east of Lawrence, South Carolina as well. Here is the National Hurricane Center and Central Pacific Hurricane Center outlook. You can see that we do have 5 areas that we are watching for right now. And really the 5 that we are watching for is number 1, or not really, some of them we aren't watching for, but the ones that are currently out: Tropical Storm Isaac, all the way up here, going up towards the northern UK. So nothing that we're going to have to worry about at all. Here is Tropical Storm Joyce over here, which is honestly not really going to do much. It's going to pretty much just go into the Atlantic and die. So honestly, I don't know what's going on there. And then we have Tropical Depression 12, which is expected to become a major hurricane But I have seen some people say that this will become a fish storm. If you don't know what a fish storm is a storm that does not make landfall. That's why it's called a fish storm. But right now, it is expected to become a major hurricane by 2 o'clock p.m. on Friday. And then after that, we're going to have to see what happens. We're going to see if it's going to continue curving or if it's going to go up towards Atlantic Canada. We don't know. We don't know what this thing's going to do just yet. But right now, we're going to have to watch for that. We have two areas that we are watching for. Disturbance 1, a broad area of low pressure located over the western Caribbean Sea, is producing disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Environmental conditions appear to be conducive for gradual development, and a tropical depression could form around the middle part of this week, while the disturbance moves slowly west-northwestward. This system is then expected to move northwestward into the Gulf of Mexico during the latter portion of this week. Interest in the northwestern Caribbean Sea and along the U.S. Gulf Coast should monitor the progress of the system. So, to answer the question that I know some people have been having, because I've been asked a lot already, is there another chance or another shot that we could get hit by another hurricane, tropical storm, whatever the strength will be? And the obvious answer is yes, there is a chance. We don't know exactly just yet what will happen. We're going to have to watch the strength of it. The models have been fluctuating over and over again, and they're not quite sure on what's going to happen with this. So for right now, there always is a chance, but right now it might be pretty low right now. Here's disturbance 2 over here. A low-latitude tropical wave located a few hundred miles off the west coast of Africa is producing limited shower and thunderstorm activity. Upper-level winds are forecast to become more conducive for development, as a tropical depression could form during the middle to later portion of this week as we move slowly westward or west-northwestward over the eastern tropical Atlantic. So a 10% chance for that one over the next 48 hours, 50% chance over the next 7 days, and this one, no chance over the next 48 hours, but a 50% chance over the next 7 days over here in the Caribbean. And that's pretty much that right now. We're going to go on and talk about, let me close out all of this right here. We're going to go on and talk about the future real quick, and then we're going to talk about our week forecast for September the 29th all the way through to October the 5th, and then we'll see if we have any chats from the audience, and other than that, we're going to head out if we don't have any more questions from that. But here is, I probably should, we gotta do this real quick. Move that inward right there. You can see the entire map now. You can see the date is in the top right corner of your screen. As you push this forward, you can start to see showers, thunderstorms continuing, and like South Carolina through today, tomorrow the 30th. And then as you get into around like October the 2nd, October the 3rd-ish, it starts to become a little more clear or a little more better in terms of conditions. And then there goes our little area of low pressure that we're watching that has probably a little tropical storm trying to go somewhere near Tampa Bay and then gonna just head on out. So again, there is that chance right now. The last models were saying that it was gonna probably go somewhere in Louisiana, and then there was the one before that said it was gonna go up there in the Big Bend region of Florida, and then it was gonna go up through South Carolina. But then the model run that I just showed you right now pretty much has it going into like the Tampa Bay region and then exiting there as well. And then as you continue through, going into like October the 8th, maybe even the 7th as well, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, all of these areas right here might be a good period for us, going all the way from October the 15th through October like the 10th-ish. And honestly, could see a good amount of weather for maybe even a week. A good amount of weather for around a week or so is definitely possible as we get through to like October the 7th to like the 15th-ish. So we're going to be watching that, and we're going to see what happens there. Let's go on and talk about this week. This week, it will be above average temperatures inside of South Carolina. Will be above average this week. So temperatures will not be feeling like fall this week, and you can even see it over here. As you go into the GFS, we can go into the shaded right here, and you can see right here temperatures are going to be in the 80s pretty much as we go through. And they're pretty much going to stay until we have a little bit of a cool down right here. As we get into like around October the 6th, October the 7th-ish, where we might get low temperatures into the 50s. We might get our first 50 temperature going into October the 6th, October the 7th. So we're going to watch and see what happens to like the main areas is what I mean by that. Going into this week for the precipitation instead of temperatures this week will be below average in terms of precipitation. So above average temperatures, below average precipitation, not really too good for our drought threat. You can see over here that we do still have a D1 and a D2 drought. Luckily, that rain did fall into most of South Carolina. At least most of South Carolina got around an inch of rain, and that was after this came out. So it might stay sustained. It might stay sustained as we get through this week going into Thursday. We'll talk about that on Thursday the 3rd. But that seems to be it. Let's check out the chat, see if we have anything else. We have nothing really new inside the chat. Everything was just about what we talked about earlier, which if you were not tuned into the live stream, we did talk about which storm was worse, Hugo or Helene. But right now, nobody else has sent any other chats about anything about like the current conditions or anything like that. So we're going to go on, talk about Raleigh, San Antonio, and then we're going to be out of here for tonight. So moving over here to San Antonio, Texas, we're going to go through nothing really going on for the next 48 or so hours. So you're really good in terms of precipitation. In terms of temperature, though, let's see what happens here. Let's check out the like buttons as well. Let's see where we're at right now. So right now we have around a good 8-9 people in here and 13 likes. So hopefully everyone has hit the like button. If you have not already, go on and do that. So pushing this forward as we go into tonight, low temperatures around 65, high temperatures tomorrow at around 96, low temperatures tomorrow night at around 63-ish or so. And then high temperatures going to around 94, 95-ish going into your Tuesday. As you move up here to Raleigh, North Carolina, let's check this out. So we're going to push this back. Low temperatures tonight at around 68. High temperatures tomorrow at around 73. Low temperatures tomorrow night at around 67. High temperatures going to around 70-ish going into your Tuesday. Going into precipitation instead, let's go on and talk about that real quick as well. Nothing really going on for tonight. As you go into tomorrow, showers, downpours possible as you get into even like tomorrow afternoon around 2-3 o'clock p.m. And then maybe even some shower and thunderstorm activity going on at around 8-9 o'clock p.m. going into tomorrow evening. And then maybe even some more scattered showers and downpours going on around you going into your Tuesday. And that's pretty much all that is right there. So we're going to go on and head out for tonight, as I don't see any other chats or anything like that. So if we don't have any other chats, we're going to go on, like I said, head out. Hopefully everyone has a fantastic rest of your Sunday evening. And I will be back tomorrow morning with another forecast update. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button, as we are trying to get to 300 subscribers by November the 5th, which is election day at 11:59. We're at 263. We got around 13 subscribers in around a couple of days, which is good. So we're getting closer and closer and closer.